Eccles Business Buzz podcast. I'm your host, Frances Johnson. This season, we are diving into the new strategic priorities and goals here at the David Eccles School of Business, and I'm so glad you've joined us today as we continue this great conversation. While many of the new programs and initiatives that we've been talking about are internal efforts at the school, it would be impossible to achieve these ambitious goals without the help of our community and corporate partners. And I'm so happy to be joined by one of those great partners today. Zach England is Chief Operating Officer at CR England, a Salt Lake City-based commercial transportation company that has remained family-owned and operated for 4 generations. Zach received a bachelor's degree in finance here at the David Eccles School of Business and then earned an MBA at the Rice University Jesse H. Jones Graduate School of Management. Zach is also a member of our Eccles Advisory Board, continuing his family's generational and generous support of the Eccles School and our students. Zach, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Frances. Yeah, it's fun to be on with you today. And just before we get going, it's been a cool experience for me over the last few years to be more involved with the school on the advisory board. And I was just thinking about it in preparation for this today. Just the people at the Eccles School are amazing. And just a few people I want to shout out, if that's okay, before we get started.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Monet Frank, Ruchi Watson, they're amazing. Of course, Dean Dirks, he's been such a great addition and so open and willing to talk with everybody. It's just been great. Jesse Strike, Stephanie Baugh, some of the people that we've worked with, of course, you, Frances.
Thank you so much.
Such an amazing group of people. And there have been a couple of things that I've just thought about, just how great the people are and thoughtful the people are there that make us want to work with the school even more. And a couple of quick examples. My grandfather just passed away, 105 years old, an amazing guy. This was back in November, and the school just reached out and was so wonderful to just express condolences and things, but also recognized him with a scholarship in his honor, which was so neat, and just all the handwritten notes and just a great group of people. So it's a pleasure to work with you guys.
Well, that is so kind, and it's a great honor and compliment to me to be included in such an illustrious group of people, some of whom have been with us on the podcast this season. And it certainly is reciprocal, right? It's easy to want to work hard and work smart and work well when great partnerships exist and we can all help and motivate each other, which is what I'm so excited to talk to you about today, Zach. So thank you so much for that kind introduction. That was very nice. And we're certainly happy to have you and your family and your company as our partners in this new chapter and sort of next ascent of the David Eccles School of Business. It's really exciting to be part of the school and what's happening right now. So Zach, I know, and you've mentioned even a couple ways just in the beginning, the many ways that your family supports the Eccles School through scholarships, through service on the Eccles Advisory Board. I want to start kind of putting all those things under this umbrella of student success, which is the first strategic priority that has come out of our planning process for the next sort of chapter of the Eccles School. In previous episodes, including with Ruchi and Maya from Goff Strategic Leadership Institute, who you've mentioned, we've talked about a lot of things that we're doing in the classroom through experiential learning to really boost and enhance the student experience. But we all know that students' lives and experiences aren't just limited to the classroom and their internships and their jobs. We know that other things like Access to food, access to housing, access to mental health care all have a big impact on whether students can be successful at the Eccles School and in their lives. CR England has made a really generous investment in our In a Pinch Basic Needs Initiative, which works to address a lot of these, what we call basic needs like food and housing and healthcare. Why is this kind of support for the whole student important to you and your family and your company as you think of how you want to be involved at the Echo School?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that goes back to our history. So, a little bit of history about the company. We were founded way back in 1920 by my great grandfather. That's CR England. And you think back about the time back then, the Great Depression started just a few years later, 1929. And there's a story that we talk about in our family and the company about one morning he's at the kitchen table, no food, unclear where the next meal is going to come from, broke down in tears. And it was just one of those kind of moments. Of course, a lot of people around the country were dealing with that at the time. He had resolve and just wiped the tears away and got back to work. And it's a part of our company lore now, just sort of that approach to hard work and all that. And so you fast forward all these decades later, we're in our 105th year right now. We work almost entirely that whole time. We've shipped food products. That's just a big part of our business, refrigerated food. And so many of our customers are either food producers or grocers or whatever. So we're always thinking about food. And so in 2018, we established what we call the One Initiative, where every load we deliver for a customer, we feed a hungry child. And so we do that. We partner with 26 different food banks around the country. And so every time we do it, we deliver a load, a child gets fed. Our drivers get notified, thanking them because you delivered the load. We're going to feed a child. They can select which of those food banks. It's a wonderful thing. Since we started this, we've fed almost 13 million children. So it's having a big impact. And so it's just been a huge part of our culture. And so when we heard about this In a Pinch pantry, I wasn't even aware of it. Honestly, some of these stats are so staggering about food insecurity just in the country. You'd think a university would be immune, but it's totally not. And so when we heard about those statistics, it just fit in so perfectly with one of our core values, which is to be community driven, is just a natural extension of this One Initiative. And we're just thrilled to be a part of it.
And how do you see, Zach, that effort contributing to the success that students can have at the school?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you think about just when you're hungry, it's hard to focus on much else. And I was looking up for the In a Pinch pantry, the statistics. So it says on there 2 out of 5 students struggle to put food on the table. So 40% of the kids in the university world are food insecure to a degree. And it's just amazing. 17%, it says, were homeless in the previous year. Like, these are basics that it's hard to really focus on your academic career if you don't have the basic needs that have been met. So it's just, unfortunately, we're not an exception at the U. And so I have 2 kids in college now, and they eat a lot of food, especially the boy. So there's a big need, a big requirement for all that. But also just as I've been kind of reminded of the whole experience of being in school. It's been a minute since I've been in there, and just the stress, all the things that they have on their plate. Food shouldn't be one of those issues. And so anything we can do to help out with that. And I love what the In a Pinch pantry is doing to hopefully resolve that need for a lot of these kids.
I think you've made a couple really great points here, Zach. Number one, we think, oh, if you're in college, you're probably not struggling with these things. And that's absolutely not true. We know many of our students wouldn't be able to come to college without scholarship support. And that doesn't always cover all of their basic needs. It brings them into the classroom, but there isn't always something left over to cover things like food and stable housing. So I think that's a great reminder that we are not immune. And also, this great point that I'm sure we've all experienced, even if we're not food insecure, that feeling of being really hungry. Maybe you didn't have time to eat breakfast, had meetings through lunch, whatever the case. We know that that can make it difficult to focus. It can make us cranky. It can distract our thoughts if we're always thinking, oh, where am I going to sleep tonight? Where's my next meal going to come from? When we think of students trying to apply a lot of brain power and effort to learning and working and being engaged on campus, if they don't have those basic needs met, then they are not actually having the full college experience.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole kind of memory of eating ramen and just getting by all that, that's one thing, but like not really knowing where how you're going to survive. Like part of that, like the experience of struggle is fine, but not having food is a different level that needs to be fixed.
Yeah. Well, Zach, CR England is also committed to hiring students. So this is part of the student experience as well, right? We've talked about these basic needs and why that's important. Students also need work experience, the chance to build up their resume, the chance to put the skills they're learning in the classroom into practice. For some students, that can be difficult to access, but CR England is really committed to hiring both internships while students are still with us at the Eccles School, and then for jobs and starting their careers once they graduate. So I want to start with internships first. Talk to me a little bit about your approach, your company's approach to internships, and why those are also a critical part of student success.
Yeah, so this is a really cool story. We have done a few of these over the years, but really, I'd say got serious about it about a year ago. And it takes, in case anyone's listening that wants to eventually get involved with their company with interns, it definitely takes some work on both ends to make it happen. But in our case, it's really been just an awesome experience and well worth it. So how we approached it was I got our top leadership together and presented how, what the options were at the U. So with the business school. So whether it was interns, graduate, undergraduate, group projects, cross-functional teams, all those kind of things, capstone projects. And they came back with some awesome ideas. There were 10 or 11 different ideas. We took all those, kind of prioritized and picked the ones that we thought made the most sense, and then met with the folks up at the school. And so Ruchi was there, Stephanie, Monet, and went through that. And then they took those ideas and went back to the school and talked to the leaders and students and said, what ones of these make the most sense? What will be impactful? Then we got back together again and kind of selected. We ended up with 3, which I think was the right number of projects and internships. So at a high level, one of them was an MBA intern, and this was in our finance group. We have a dedicated division that has about 80 different P&L statements, so different customers all around the country, very complex with that many. And the internship was to actually do a pricing model to help with pricing for each of those individual customers. We found out, by the way, that was a bit much right away to jump in. So we got him more involved in some basics to help build the experience up. And he's been at it for 2 months, and he's been doing things like forecasting and month-end close and variance analysis, deep dives, all those kinds of things to help build that experience. And he is now at the point where he's ready to get to the project that we initially slated, which we're really excited. Just an unbelievable student. We're hoping that upon graduation later in the spring, that a full-time job ends up developing out of that. That's how impressed we are with him. We also have through Goff the Explorers internship program. There are 2 students there, and what we're doing is a corporate social responsibility plan, which a lot of our customers require. And so there's a lot to it, a lot of different steps, a lot of organization. And what they're doing so on the CSR plan is interviewing internal executives and help building out this plan and different processes that come with it. And they're about halfway done with that project so far. Super impressed with the two students that are on that as well. And then the third one is a capstone project. It's a business continuity plan, masters of IS, information systems, that are on it for students. And we're just actually getting started. But the whole idea on this is for these students to go in, analyze all the different elements, all these locations, these 80 different locations, and identify risks, things that could shut us down, likelihood of that happening. Of course, cyber attack is a big part of that, but there's lots of different other risks that they're involved in. And so that's a holistic project that we're really excited about. The cool one about that is the students were allowed to, they had all the different projects presented to them, and they were allowed to pick the ones that they were interested in. And so, again, we're just starting on that one. So, excited for the results to come there. So back to your question, that's kind of the background of what we're doing, those three different projects. I think just the student success and why this is important to them, the feedback that we've gotten specifically from that MBA student was just, it's amazing how much he has learned in the 2 months and how it's such a great supplement to the things he learned in the classroom. But when you're dealing with it real world, it's just different and it hits home in a different way. And I actually remember when I got my MBA at Rice, well, before that at the U, unfortunately, the Eccles School, generations ago, but like we didn't do any of this. We didn't do any of this kind of experiential learning. And so it was just classroom stuff, and it was great. But when I got my MBA at Rice in Houston, we had one of these. It was a capstone our last semester, something we all looked forward to. And we got in with a company, and it's just a different feel when you're doing real world things. And I think it's a great confidence builder. So I think it's such an improvement in the way to learn and get your education.
I love that you mentioned confidence, Zach. I think that's such a big part of student success, something that I know is woven into this strategic plan. Just this idea of how do we give students hard skills, right? Whether it's knowing how to read a profit and loss statement or understanding business continuity, they need to have those skills, but they also need to have a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, and the confidence that they can go out and not only do a job but make a positive impact. And so I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that is a big part of student success and something that these outside of the classroom experiences, a hands-on chance to apply book learning, is a really important part of building that. In that vein, we've seen how over the course of this season, as we're implementing this strategic plan, these priorities of student success, societal impact, and the reputation and legacy of the school all sort of feed and support each other. They're related in a lot of ways. And your involvement, CR England's involvement with the school, certainly crosses all of those areas as well. So I want to shift a little bit and talk about societal impact. I think you've given us some great examples of, through In a Pinch and through internships, how CR England is really committed to student success and supporting that. I love that word you used, supplemental, right? We're adding, it's a sort of yes and approach to the experience that students have. But let's talk a little bit about the impact that the school, students, and graduates that you hire and interact with are having on your company. Is there anything sort of unique that they're bringing to the table, and what difference do they help make on the culture and the capabilities of CR England?
Yeah, no, it's been fun to see this and to get this experience in this latest round of interns. But at a broader level, just the Eccles School has just been a great partner. As I was mentioning before, we just appreciate the relationship so much. But you all have allowed us to use some facilities for leadership meetings and made professors available to speak at some of these leadership meetings in their areas of expertise, and they've all been amazing. And so it's just there's a lot of different levels where we've benefited as a company from this involvement. But specific to the students and kind of the intern program that I was talking about before, we've been really impressed with them so far. And we had done a couple of finance projects, I think 2 years ago. And same thing, like just the quality of the kids were just very, very impressive. Of course, none of them come to us with any knowledge or understanding of the trucking industry, understandably so. Not many people have that, but they're smart people. They've got a great education, and they bring a fresh perspective. And I think that's been really, really valuable for us. A couple examples of that in talking about this MBA intern on the finance side with us. The person he's working with on our end, actually an Eccles graduate from, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago or something. He was saying that he's just been so impressed with the, we feel like we're pretty advanced in a lot of the ways we analyze things and so forth. And he's brought some statistical tools to the table. Hey, have you considered doing this? That have really will be a part of how we look at all these different accounts and these P&Ls moving forward. So there's been some actual practical things like that, in addition to just the great work. And by the way, he's just an awesome cultural fit, and it seems like it's going to work out long term. The other one is kind of funny, and I was teasing this guy that he's working with on our end. He graduated 10 or 15 years ago, so he's not old, but like he said, these students, their familiarity with AI and kind of ease of using it, and just the way they think that, hey, we can use AI on this problem that we really don't. Those of us who have been doing it a longer amount of time, I was teasing him that like, you're old now. Like these young buckaroos are coming in and using these new tools and stuff. And but there is some truth to it. And so just things like that, where they're just better equipped and than we were, for sure.
When you think about the culture of CR England as a company and your family, the England family, I think having a positive impact is really important to your culture and your sort of ethos, right? You talked about your One initiative, which is a great example of that. As you think about students and graduates and the capabilities they're bringing beyond just a sort of practical, maybe more efficient way to solve a business problem, how do you feel like they extend or add to your own societal impact as a company?
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about this in preparation for this podcast, but about half or more of our top leadership graduated from the U. So we are heavily read and not just sports, but impacted by the school. And you mentioned culture. This is something with just the nature of our business. We have about 4,000 drivers spread throughout the country, and it's really hard when you're not necessarily seeing them all the time and they're doing very difficult work to create a great culture. And it's kind of funny. One of our core values also is we are family. There's the old Sister Sledge song.
Yeah, I love
But
that song.
yeah, so it's a little catchy and memorable, but it's become just a huge part of our culture that we treat each other like we're family. And so I feel like we're doing some really good things there. But the infusion of new ideas, like I mentioned, fresh perspectives before, will only help that. And so we're excited to see as this kind of develops further, the impact that they'll have. There is some cool progress already on this. I mentioned one of the projects is the corporate social responsibility project. Talking to the leader that's over that, he's just been mentioning how the types of questions that these students are asking are really causing us to reflect and to think. And it's, we're talking corporate social responsibility plan that that we have already in the several weeks that they've been doing this, even though we had in some cases processes and policies on some of these different items, they just the questions they've asked have already caused us to supplement and improve those. So there is actual real progress that's happening there that maybe, just being in it for a long time, that we weren't looking at things that way. And so, yeah, it's already making a difference.
And I think going back to what we talked about a few minutes ago, this idea of confidence, that also if students or recent graduates, alums can see, oh, I can go into an organization, a big organization, and I can make a difference. My ideas will be valued, my ideas will be heard. I think that's a great tribute to your company and how you operate. But I think that experience is also part of building that confidence and reminding our students, right? When we talk about societal impact as a goal for the Eccles School, we're of course talking about how do we as a school impact the economy? How do we contribute to relevant research, but we're also talking about how do we prepare our students to make their own kind of societal impact. And I think having that experience early of understanding I can come to the table with something new, something unique, and that will actually be listened to and implemented is a huge part of helping students understand it's actually possible to make a difference.
Yep. Yep. I'm just thinking back to my MBA experience in my middle summer. I did an internship at a company, and we keep talking about confidence of the students, but just at first I came in and I was very intimidated, but just through time, as you build up your confidence and your voice and kind of understanding of what's going on in the company, you're able to make an impact and in many different ways, culturally or specifically to the business you're running or whatever. And yeah, just reflecting on my experience, that was definitely the case for me as well.
And Zach, going back to how we sort of opened this idea of the whole student, right? To sort of close the circle as we think about treating our students as whole people, addressing all their needs, not just their academic needs, but their personal needs, their emotional needs, their mental health care needs. How is that sort of the key? That's a little bit of a leading question, but how does that contribute to this idea of positive social impact? Why is that part of the puzzle?
Yeah, I just think that the more the students are well-rounded when they graduate, the better off they're going to be and the better impact that they're going to have. And so all these things that we're talking about definitely contribute to that. I've been thinking about just the social element of a university experience as well. I mean, it's where you can find lifelong friends and mentors and things that just benefit you in your life, no doubt. You and I were talking about this the other day, but my daughter is a freshman at the Eccles School this year and living on campus and kind of going through all that whole experience. For her, what's been it's been a wonderful experience at the school. The living up there and her roommate, who she did not know before, she found on Instagram by kind of searching out the other kids in the Business Scholar program and asked her if she wanted to be roommates. And thankfully, she didn't have one yet. And so, anyway, they've become best friends. They're inseparable. And it's been so cool to see the maturity and the development of her as a person. And again, going back to building that confidence, building that education in so many different ways. And to me, it's been fun to watch that as a parent. And I'm hoping that that's happening broadly with the student base at the Eccles School.
I think there is a big effort to create community for students. And I think that's a part of this whole student approach that we haven't talked about yet. But we know that, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, this approach of a cohort based approach that builds community is really key in attracting students, right? That's something that they're interested in having. It's really key in retaining students because when you do hit these rough patches, it's a big transition to come to college, regardless of your background or circumstances coming in. It can be difficult for anyone and maybe everyone. And so having that support system in place for you already kind of keeps you there and keeps you going. And then, of course, if you stay, we hope that then you graduate. So that's another part of this whole student experience is how do we create a sense of community for our students? It can happen in classroom cohorts. It can happen with our roommates. It can happen in student clubs and organizations. And I think also through some of these efforts you've mentioned through golf, through people who are maybe interning with you at the same company. There are lots of ways to create that community. And that's another big part of this goal and this approach to student success.
I know my nephew is just about to graduate right now from the school, Cooper, and one of the things for him that was awesome is with through the Business Scholars Program, he's done a couple of the trips, the overseas trips, and yeah, just the experience and I mean the fun and the connections that you make. I know it just adds to the whole package when you end up graduating. Just everything that you're able to take with you as a result of it. It's been fun to see and to talk to him about his experience too.
And then you and I can look back on it as the golden age, right? I always look at students now and think, oh man, you guys are in one of the best parts of your life. It's,
Yeah,
yeah,
enjoy it,
enjoy
man.
it. Enjoy it for sure. Well, Zach, to just close us out today, I'd love to hear from you. If you were thinking of your ideal world, your ideal circumstances, what would every Eccles student be prepared to do as they graduate and go out into the world? It could be practical skills, it could be personal skills. What do you hope these students have when they leave and start the next chapter of their lives?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a combination of the things that we've been talking about with definitely the practical skills. You have to have that foundation. But the things that we've been talking about, all the social side of it, the to where you can fit into the team. That's been, by the way, what we've heard about this MBA student is that it was just a natural fit right into the team. And so being able to interact that way and communicate effectively is so important. And so I think what we're talking about with internships and getting experience all builds to that and helps put someone in perspective or in the position to be that well-rounded leader. And you combine that with someone with ambition and hard work. That's the kind of person we're looking for. And I think we found one, like I mentioned, with this MBA student, and maybe some of the others as well. And as an employer, that's what we're looking for, kids with that kind of background.
I love this term well-rounded. I think it really sort of sums up what we've been talking about today, that we can't, as an educational institution, we can't just focus on delivering one thing as students and even as people, later in our careers as alums of the school, to always be learning and adding to our skills and paying attention to all parts of our lives. Then we're really set up for some great success.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Yeah, no, it's kind of how we opened talking about just the value in the relationship. I'm just honored to be a part of. I'm honored to graduate from the U, to be a graduate, to be a Ute, and to continue the involvement all these years later with our company. It's amazing how far the school has come and the leadership that we have. I love the new strategic initiatives and the direction we're going. So yeah, just super excited for the future.
I'm super excited for the future too. I hope everyone listening today is. And Zach, I'm so thankful to you for being here today.
No problem, Francis. It was a ton of fun. Thanks.
And And thank you for joining us for this episode of the Eccles Business Buzz podcast. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another great conversation about how the Eccles School is working to prepare our students to make a positive impact on their communities and economies and society at large. You can subscribe to Eccles Business Buzz wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss it. And you can always follow us on Instagram at Eccles Alumni for all the latest news from your Eccles Alumni Network. Until next time. Eccles Business Buzz is a production of the David Eccles School of Business and is produced by University FM.